So today I'm going to do a quick tutorial on how to configure and to calibrate and to scale the button throttle to go with the Vesc controller. Now we're presuming that you have your Vesc controller plugged in, you have it fired up, and you have your Arduino throttle interface connected to your Vesc controller, and you have the button throttle, the actual button wired into the Arduino controller. So let's fire up our Vesc tool, and we'll hit the connect button. And we're interested today in using the wizard and using the input setup wizard in particular to set up the scaling within the Vesc tool. So click on input setup wizard, and you're met with this dialog box, which is basically telling you that this is the tool used to carry out the process of connecting the correct input into the Vesc. Click next. It asks you if you'd like to load the default configuration. We'll say yes, and we shall use the single Vesc setup. Next. And also we'll use the ppm input. Next. And so now we're greeted with the ppm mapping page, and the first thing you'll see here is that we have this 0.7 millisecond mapping. This is the minimum setting that the button throttle is outputting at the moment to the Vesc controller. The Vesc controller as default expects 1 millisecond at the start and 2 milliseconds at the end. The button controller works a little wider than that. It works with around about a 0.7 millisecond at the start to around about 2.6 milliseconds at the end. So we need to scale it for that to suit. And so that's simply done by driving full throttle to the Vesc, and we do that by holding the button down on the button throttle. And you'll see that it's driven to full throttle, and you can see it's driven to 2.6 milliseconds. We'll push it again, and it will release back to 0 throttle. So what that's done now, it's picked up what the minimum throttle setting is and the maximum throttle is. So you can see the minimum throttle setting there and the maximum throttle setting there, and that's the center point. Now we need to transfer those up into this section here, so we just hit this apply button, and we've now set the start and end pulse widths for the Vesc controller, and essentially the Vesc controller has now been calibrated. However, it's nice just to carry out a few tests to make sure that our button is going to work the way we would expect, and to do that we go back to this section here, and we, rather than having it on the off, we change that to current no reverse. And what that now does is that it scales this section here to be a 0 to 100% throttle, as opposed to a typical skateboard setup, which is 0 to 50% is brake, or 50 to 0% is brake, and 50% to 100% is throttle. So now I'm going to hit the button. I'm only going to hold it for a second so that we get our 50% throttle. And we can see that it stops at 50% throttle, 1.6 milliseconds. If I hold it down now for another 3 seconds, it will go to 100% throttle. And so you can see that 100% or 99.6%, 2.6 milliseconds, and then one quick click, and it reverts back to 0 throttle. And that's essentially our button throttle fully calibrated to work with the Vesc. Hit the next button. Just here select current no reverse to finish things off. Next again, and finished. And that's it. The button throttle is fully calibrated and ready for operation. Thank you very much for watching.